Okay, so it's time for us to get back into our coverage over the X-Men, right? But for us to do that, we got to sit down and cover some good old Deadpool again. Now, here's the thing. This is Deadpool's first ongoing series that Marvel gave him in the late 1990s. Now, I kind of realized something when I sat down to begin to record this video. When it came to Deadpool, around this time in Marvel Comics, he only had like 2 miniseries, and they were in the early 1990s. So it had been a while since Marvel gave Deadpool his own book. But on top of that, when it comes to our coverage over the X-Men, it has been a very long time since we last sat down and talked about Deadpool. But here we are now. In 1997, when it came to Marvel, they gave Deadpool his own ongoing series. And you know what? He's a popular character. Let's go ahead and get him out there. And so they brought in Joe Kelly. Now, when it came to deciding like what to do with this video, I kind of thought like, we should cover the first 3 or 4 issues of this series. But as I read the first 2 issues, I kind of realized that it does seem like to me that each issue is really more of a one-shot. Like, it's a one-time story and they move on to the next story for Deadpool. There's no actual story arc. Now, I could be wrong there, but I only read the first 2 issues and that's really it for now. But I kind of felt like me reading the first 2 issues and stopping there is a good point for me to see if you guys would really care for me to sit down and cover the entire Deadpool series as part of our coverage over the X-Men. And the reason why I'm bringing that up because as we were working our way through our coverage over the X-Men, I had a few people kind of, tell me in the comment sections like, I am not ready for late 1990s Deadpool. Like, he is completely different from the early 1990s. And I kind of see what they meant by Deadpool because this Deadpool is really more like Ryan Reynolds, really hitting the official idea of the merc with the mouth, but also breaking that fourth wall. Because for me personally, in the early 1990s Deadpool, the 2 miniseries we had covered, he was still doing some fourth wall breaking, still being the merc with a mouth, but he was still being more serious, more aggressive, less crazy like. And so getting into the opening pages of the storyline, it was a complete shift. It's kind of like, oh wait, no, this is the Deadpool I read growing up. This is the Deadpool we see in the Ryan Reynolds movie, and really trying to break the fourth wall, but be that crazy character. Now for Deadpool, he's currently right now in Bolivia trying to steal a weapon. And the reason why, because there is this rebel group right now that's trying to bring down their government. But to do that, they need a weapon that the government has. And so you have Deadpool being able to steal that weapon. The problem is that when it comes time for him to get paid, they pay him in fake money. That's not the official currency of that country yet, until they officially take over the country and get rid of their government at the moment. And so for Deadpool, he's kind of like, I can't do anything at all with this money. Like, basically, you're trying to short me right now when it comes to me doing a job for you. And so you have Deadpool go ahead and kill off the entire rebel group just like that. Now for Deadpool, he had no idea that technically he was being watched by Landau, Luckman, and Lake. Now, this is an organization that we have talked about in the past when it comes to our coverage over Wolverine. Landau, Luckman, and Lake is this holding company / law firm that really deals with Wolverine assets, but also they're trying to help protect the world and the universe in different types of ways. Like, they have their hands in so many different things, but right now they're watching Deadpool. And the reason why, because they believe that Deadpool could be used for one of their special missions. So with Deadpool now getting his own book, we kind of get introduced to a few characters and also a few concepts that all tie into Deadpool. Like, for example, with him being a mercenary, where does he go to get his job from? Well, he gets his jobs from Hell House. Now, Hell House is actually an old Catholic boarding house that got closed down many years ago and taken over by a character known as Patch. Now, for Patch, he is Deadpool's field handler. So anytime Deadpool needs a job, he goes over to Patch. Now, we're also being reintroduced to Weasel, who we saw in the earlier Deadpool miniseries. But for Weasel, he's really more of like Deadpool's guy for weapons. But we also see that for Deadpool and Weasel, even though Wade kind of mistreat Weasel so much, it's also Weasel still being somewhat concerned for Deadpool. Like, for example, when it comes to Weasel, he's kind of like, dude, we already know that you're still thinking about her. And of course, he's thinking about Siren because not too long ago, Siren and Deadpool had a team up. But on top of that, for Siren and Deadpool, they kind of got close for a brief moment before they had the two characters go their separate ways. But now we switch over to Walter Lankowski, better known as Sasquatch. Now, he was also part of Alpha Flight, the Canadian superhero team, but around this time in Marvel Comics, they had canceled Alpha Flight. The team had officially disbanded. And so for Walter, he was a free agent. What he did was he has set up a facility at the South Pole, Antarctica. And so while doing that, it allowed him the ability to continue to study gamma radiation. And so right now we're seeing him working on a gamma core. Now that gamma core become very important for the overall story. Now we do switch over to San Francisco, and with us doing that, we're being introduced to Blind Al. And as we all know, Blind Al is this blind woman who lives with Deadpool at his house. Now here's the thing, because for Deadpool in this like 2-3 page section, we get the idea that somehow she is his prisoner. Now, you don't really have the book explain how she is his prisoner, but we're getting the idea that it's Marvel just trying to introduce all these different characters and concepts to help build up the Deadpool book for fans getting into comics, but also, you know, the idea of Deadpool being solo for once in Marvel Comics. And so you do have Deadpool leave. And so for Blind Al, it's her kind of believing that it's Deadpool trying to see Siren, of course, as you all know, Banshee's daughter. Now, as we do switch back over to Walter Lankowski, we see Walter right now being happy about the idea that his gamma core is working perfectly. And matter of fact, he kind of wishes that Alpha Flight was there to see his amazing work. But of course, with the team being disbanded, he's not really able to reach the team so easily. But while you have Walter just taking in the sight of his gamma core working perfectly, he doesn't realize that he's being watched by two members of Landau, Luckman, and Lake. One of the two members is somebody we have seen countless times in Wolverine comics, and that would be Zoe. But for Zoe, she believes that all the pieces have fallen in place, and so now it's time to bring Deadpool over here. Now we do switch over to Deadpool again, and we're also being introduced to another character known as Gary. Now for Gary, he's really more of like this alcoholic homeless person that's a friend of Deadpool. And usually you have Deadpool pay this man a visit to kind of discuss different conspiracies. Now here's the thing, because when it comes to Gary, he'll become very important in later storylines. But for Deadpool, his pager goes off, which means he has a job. And so for Deadpool, when he does arrive at the Hell House, he's then confronted by Patch. Now for Patch, he does inform Deadpool and the other mercenaries the new job is to go to Antarctica to basically blow up this facility. Now of course, it's the same one that Walter Lankowski is currently at the moment. Now for Patch, he was not going to give Deadpool that job at all. And the reason why? Because Deadpool got there a little bit too late. But you have Deadpool pull out a weapon and say, no, that job is mine. Give it here. And so you do have Deadpool head over to Antarctica. Now, when he does arrive in Antarctica, of course you have Deadpool begin the process of trying to get rid of the facility. Now, here's the thing, because you do have Walter catch Deadpool trying to be, well, Deadpool. And for me, this is where you really have Marvel trying to make sure to remind us that Deadpool is an anti-hero. Like, he will always ride that borderline for well, his entire career as a Marvel character. But either way, for Walter and Deadpool, as the battle continues on, you then have Deadpool and Walter damage the Gamma Core. And this is a huge problem. Because if they don't go out of their way to fix the actual Gamma Core, then the whole southern hemisphere of the Earth will be affected with gamma radiation. People are going to die left and right, or get burned, or possibly gain cancer. Either way, those people are screwed up when it comes to the Gamma Core not being stopped. And so you do have Deadpool and also Walter kind of work together to bring down the Gamma Core levels. Really, it's more Deadpool. He has to go inside the actual core to bring down its levels. And while doing that, he is constantly being hit with radiation left and right. But thankfully, with his healing factor, he's able to overcome the actual obstacle. And so once you do have the Gamma Core get fixed by Deadpool, you do have Walter and Deadpool call a truce. But it's also Deadpool realizing that when he came to this mission, he could have potentially killed off so many people across the Earth. And technically, he believed at first it was just an easy job. But the thing was, he was not told it was a gamma facility. Now you do have Deadpool meet up with Zoe and also Noah, the two members of Landau, Luckman, and Lake. And so once you do have Deadpool being able to meet up with those two guys, you didn't have the two inform Deadpool the entire job was a hoax. And the reason why, because it was kind of like a test, because they believe that they could make Deadpool this hero. And let me explain. They tell Deadpool this: a chain of events has begun to transpire, events that they had predicted. If closely monitored and influenced, these happenings will lead to a galaxy-wide rebirth, resulting in an evolution of culture and civilization. And they want Deadpool to be the guardian, the protector of this destiny. And so for Deadpool, it's a pretty huge offer, but Deadpool says he is not really intrigued to see where it goes, and so he leaves. But for Zoe and also her partner Noah, they're not going to give up that easily. They got to get Deadpool to change his mind. Now, as we dive into Deadpool issue number 2, we're really picking up with Deadpool really being a stalker. He's really watching Siren as she sleeps. And it gets the idea that is Deadpool wanting to be with her, but Deadpool's too scared to actually talk to her. And really, when it came to Siren, she's the only one who fully understood Deadpool in a certain type of way. But either way, while you have Deadpool stalking Siren as she sleeps, you then have somebody actually kidnap Weasel. And so for Deadpool, he has no idea that Weasel has been kidnapped yet. But when you do have Deadpool go back home and see his prisoner slash roommate, Blind Owl, you did have Blind Owl kind of make fun of Deadpool being a stalker, peeping Tom, watching over Siren as she sleeps. But it's also really more of Blind Owl tell Deadpool that he should really consider the offer that Landau, Luckman, and Lake had gave Deadpool and really try the hero gig. Now for Deadpool, he kind of feels like that he can't be a hero. Like that's not the right path for him at the moment. But while you do have the two characters talking to one another, for Deadpool, he does leave to go see, Weasel. Except for Deadpool, when he goes over to Weasel's, room, he realized that Weasel is not there. But when it came to Weasel, he was always prepared just in case something happened to him, just in case anybody tries to kidnap him. And so what Weasel did was he put a tracker on him, and that tracker got turned on. And so for Deadpool, it's kind of wondering like, why in the world is Weasel right now in Las Vegas? You know what? Or not Vegas, just Nevada. But either way, he's kind of like, why in the world is Weasel in Nevada? You know what? Let me go see what he's actually up to. And so you do have Deadpool head over there. Now, when Deadpool does arrive, he finds this facility that's being run by somebody who's currently training other people to be somewhat like great warriors. Now, for Deadpool, unfortunately, he does get caught while he's trying to observe the actual place. And so it does lead to Deadpool, taking down a few guys at the facility. But while doing that, you do have the person in charge begin to watch Deadpool on the camera screen. And with him doing that, he was able to learn all the different moves that Deadpool does, knowing how to fight against Deadpool. And so we get the idea of who the bad guy is for this storyline, or this one-shot story. And that would be Taskmaster. Now, when it comes to Taskmaster, he possesses the ability to replicate the physical skills, be in combat or athletic, of anyone he observes thanks to his photographic reflexes. And so when it comes to Taskmaster, this is perfect for Deadpool to fight up against, because for Deadpool, being this amazing mercenary, he believes that he can overcome almost anybody very easily. But fighting against Taskmaster, that's not really the case here. And matter of fact, you do have Taskmaster being able to take down Deadpool in a matter of seconds. And so with Deadpool now being knocked out, you then have Deadpool wake up and now be confronted by Weasel. And with the two characters being reunited with one another is when we learn that for Taskmaster, the reason why he had kidnapped Weasel is to offer Weasel a job. And so right now for Weasel, he's really considering the idea of taking the job, but at the same time, he feels like he shouldn't. And the reason why, because he feels like he'll then be betraying Deadpool if he does take the job. And really for Deadpool, he kind of hates the idea of what he's hearing right now from Weasel. Now, while you do have the two characters talking to one another, well, that is when you do have Taskmaster walk back into the room again. And for Taskmaster, what he wants to do is go ahead and kill off Deadpool, because if he's able to go ahead and get rid of Deadpool, then most likely Weasel will take the job. Now, when it comes to Deadpool fighting against Taskmaster once again, it's really more Deadpool now dancing while he's fighting. And the reason why, because for Taskmaster, he's not really able to learn the moves that Deadpool is currently showing, because it's completely random now. It's a mixture of dancing and fighting all at once, but also a lot of sucker punches as well. And so once you do have Deadpool being able to defeat Taskmaster, you really have all his students wanting to leave now. But you do have the two characters, Deadpool and Weasel, being able to leave. So again, this storyline or this issue right here was just another one shot. But I kind of feel I want to stop here to see if you guys really want me to continue covering Deadpool as part of our coverage over, well, the X-Men. But with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.